Hello there, people of the internet. Today we're making these advanced doors, so you can open them regularly, just like this. Physics works with these doors as well. Um, they open horizontally and vertically. Obviously, you'll be able to make them go up and down and left and right and whatnot, but yeah, that's the basics of what we're going to be making today. So yeah, let's jump right into it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to start making the door blueprint. So we're going to make a folder called door, and then we're going to make a blueprint actor called BP underscore door. This is because we want to put the door inside of the world. So alright, let's open that up. So in the door blueprint, we're going to add a static mesh. We're going to call that door. And then inside of here where it says static mesh, we're going to apply the door static mesh. SM underscore door. If you don't have this in your project already, it's in starter content, and if you don't have starter content, right click on your content browser, add feature or content pack, go to content and add starter content, and then you'll have the door. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add a blueprint interface. And now what a blueprint interface does is it allows us to share data with other blueprints without having to directly cast to them. So we're going to create a BPI interact. This can be recycled in your blueprints as well, just to say pick up objects and stuff, interact with other objects. So yeah, and we're going to add an input which will make instigator, like whatever interacted with it, most definitely be the player character. Just instigator. That will be an actor reference. Nice. So next, you're going to go to back to your door and go to the implemented interfaces, and we're going to add our BPI interact interface. Perfect. So once we do that, we can get rid of these for now. Still in the door blueprint, we're able to now, you see this event interact here. Great. We're just going to add a print statement for now, and we're going to print out interact. This is just to make sure it's working and everything's functional. Great. So what we're going to do next is add an interact key. So in third person input, you can add action inputs like this. We're going to add a new action input under input, input action, and we're going to call it IA underscore interact. So to do that, we're going to go back into the IMC default. This is for the context, and we're going to then implement in here the interact, and we're going to make that key E. Great. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab IA underscore interact, and this is just our E key pretty much. So now for the interact, there are two ways you can actually go about doing this. You can do a line trace by channel. This essentially sends a raycast from the start position to the end position. For us, it would be start position to camera and then end position around 600 meters in front. So the other option is to add an interact box to the door and interact with it from there. I'm going to be showing you guys how to do both, and you can pick and choose whichever works for your game. I would suggest the interact from the door one, as it's more commonly used in games, as it's simpler. But here we go. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to grab our follow camera out. We're going to get its world location. Then we're going to connect this to the start. So pretty much the line trace will start from the player camera, and we want it to end with the same rotation of the camera, but like a couple meters in front. So to do that, we're going to get the world rotation this time, not location, world rotation. And from the world rotation, I can't talk, we're going to get the forward vector. Then from the forward vector, we're going to multiply it by, we'll just create a float. You could just to float and then input whatever number you want, but we are going to actually create a variable for this. We're going to call it travel distance. and it's going to be a float, and we're going to make this around 600 for now, and we're going to put it into this multiplication. After that, we're going to add the world location and the forward vector together, and that forms the end. Okay, so once you've done this, what we're going to do is we're going to add a branch here, and we're going to break the hit result like this. Once we do that, we're going to check if the hit actor implements the interface. So does implement interface, and we're going to see if it implements BPI interact. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a branch. It will come off the true of the one that we just did for the line trace. And that's just checking if it implements the interact interface. If it does, and it's somewhere we can interact with, so then we're going to come up with hit actor, and we're going to just type in interact, and just come up with interact message, which is our interface actually. And the instigator, it'll just be self. Perfect. So now most likely what you're going to need to do is go into starter content, props, then into your door. What you're going to want to do is just add simplified collision. I've already done this for mine, but just add that and we should be good to go. So if you put your door into the world like this, what you should see is when you click E to interact, you should be printing interact, which is great. Exactly what we want. Okay, so now we're going to work on the door logic. So we're going to promote this instigator to a variable, and we're going to call it player reference, or player ref for sure. This is just a reference to the player, which we're not going to use, but if you wanted to use it for whatever, it's right here and you have it. Then what we're going to do is we're going to create a variable called isDoorOpen. This will be a boolean, which will basically just see if the door's open, exactly as the description is. So we're going to make a branch, and we're going to connect the isDoorOpen to the branch. Then, out of the true, we're going to set isDoorOpen to isDoorOpen, then not equal, not boolean. So what this does is it sets it to whatever it isn't. So when you open the door, so if the door's already open, it will set it to closed. If the door's already closed, it will set it to open. As simply as that. Perfect. Right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to create two custom events. The first one's going to be called open door. The second one's going to be called close door. Perfect. So we're going to add a timeline. This timeline we'll just call door interact, and out of the open door we're going to put it into play, and out of the closed door we're going to put it into reverse. So this is great. So this might not be the most efficient way of doing it, but it's one of the ways I discovered. So what we're going to do is put the length to 100, add track, add a float track, and we're just going to call it rotation. So then we're going to add a key by right clicking here, add key. We're going to add a key of time 0, value 0. Then we're going to right click to add another key, and this will be time 100 and value 1. Perfect. So then out of the update, we're going to want to update the door's relative rotation. Relative rotation. So this node gets the door which is relative to the event graph here instead of the world. And we're going to set its new rotation to pretty much be this rotation here. However, these two nodes cannot go into each other. So what we're going to do is we're going to break this. Sorry, we're going to split this. Now you may be thinking, just put the rotation right here into one of these. But that won't actually work, as the value is 0 to 1. And we don't want to just rotate our door by 1. So in order to make it say, let's say 90, we're going to lerp, which is a linear interpolate, and we're going to plug the rotation into the alpha. So what the lerp does is it will interpolate between two different values. So it blends between two different values by this alpha here, which is connected to the rotation. So we're gonna make B, let's just say 90 for now, and then we're gonna connect it to the rotation here. Perfect. So before we can be done, we are going to set the playback speed of the timeline. So to do that, go to components and drag out your door interacts, which is the name of the timeline. We're going to just set playback, play rate. There we go. That's what it needs to be, play rate. And then just plug it all back in. Do it for both of these, just like this. And then make the target of the second one door interact as well. Now that's great. So in order to do this correctly, what we're going to do is we're going to divide both these, and in the top value, put 100. So we're going to promote these both to variables. The first one we're going to call open speed, and the second one we're going to call close speed. So I'm going to set these both to 1. You can set it to whatever value fits your game. Just a quick warning, these are in seconds, so you don't want to be setting it to 100 because it'll take 100 seconds for the door to open, unless that's what you're going for, you know. I'm not going to judge you. Alright, so once we've done that, we're going to do out of the true, we're going to close door. Out of the false, we're going to open door. Like that. Perfect. I'm going to rearrange this real quick. Great. So now, if we click play, what's going to happen is when you come up to the door, you'll be able to open it, and you'll be able to close it. Just like this. So, yeah. Thank you guys for watching. This is all we do. Nah, I'm just joking. Of course, this isn't just it, but this is the basics to the door, pretty much. You know, you can mess about with it. It's a door. What more do you want? But okay, so you'll probably notice the first issue is they'll open it from this angle. See, that's what you're getting shoved out of the way. We're glitching inside of here. It's not great. I won't lie. So we're gonna make it dynamically open. So when we're this side, it will open not this way, but the other way. And when we're this side, it will open just like this. Perfect. Alright, let's go do that then. Okay, so just before we do the dynamic door, we are going to make some of these values exposed on spawn, like is door open, open speed, and close speed. After that, we're going to go to the viewport, and we're going to add a box collision, just like this. And we're just going to put it around like this. I'm going to turn snapping off. I'm just going to position it to how I want it. So we want to put it in front of the door, something like this. And we're going to expand it out a little bit. And just make sure it's expanded forward a bit. And just make sure it's in front of the door. And it's not like over here. Make sure it's right here. Just like this. Okay, so once we do that, we're just gonna click on the box and do Control C, Control V to duplicate it. And we're gonna move it onto the other side. Just like that. Okay, great. So now what we'll do is we'll right click on box, we'll add event, and we'll click add on component begin overlap. And this will just trigger every single time our player character overlaps with the box. First of all though, we're going to check if the other actor is the player character. This is just so if you have AI on the game, it's not just triggering to anything it interacts with, and only the player. So we'll make a branch, and we'll connect up to the branch. After that, we're going to make a variable, and it's going to be called open dynamically. We're going to put a question mark at the end, and we're just going to see if it's true. We're going to hold B to create a branch. We're just going to see if it's true, and if it is, we're going to make a new variable called should change. We're going to set should change to true. Great. Compile and save. Okay, we're going to go back to the open dynamically variable and we're going to just click this I button, which exposes it on spawn so we can actually edit it over here. See all these values, we can edit all of these. So now we're going to do the exact same for the other box. We're going to right click, add event on begin overlap, and we can actually just copy and paste, Control C and Control V, all this over, and then connect other actor back into this equals, and just uncheck this should change. Then we're going to create another variable called open dynamic value. This is going to be a float, and we're just going to set it to 1 or -1, depending on pretty much this. Alright, so we're going to go back over to the timeline, and just where set play rate is, we're going to make a branch, and if should change on the open, if should change is true, we are going to set the open dynamic value to -1, and if it's false, we're going to set it to 1. And then we can connect both of these up to the play. Compile and save. Okay, so now we're also going to set the default value of open dynamic value to 1. Compile and save. Okay, so over by this alert, we're actually going to promote this to a variable, and we're just going to call this open rotation. We're going to call this one close rotation. And you can just click the R on both of these as well. And say, yeah, that's good. Compile and save. Okay, and then we're going to drag out of open rotation and we're going to multiply it by the open dynamic value. Okay, so once we've done that, it should be working in theory. So we're just going to test it. So click E. We go to the other side. And oh yeah, silly me, we haven't actually said open dynamic here, so you're just going to tick this. And once you tick it, it should then work. So you can close it and then you can open it on the other side. That's good. Perfect. So the next thing we're going to do is, I don't know if you can see, but when you're like closing the door, you can like glitch inside of here. So we're going to disable the collision on the door when it's opening and closing, just so it's a bit smoother. Alright, let's go do that. Okay, so in the door blueprint, coming off of, we'll just make some space. Coming off of here, we're going to just set collision enabled on the door. We're going to set it to no collision like that. And we're going to do it for here as well. You just copy that door reference, no collision, plug it back into the reverse, and then make some more space. Off of the finished, we are going to drag out the door reference. We're going to set collision enabled to be query and physics. Collision enabled query and physics. There we go. That's perfect. And then when you open the door, you should now just be able to walk through it like this. So you'll no longer bug inside of the door, which is exactly what we want. So that's now the open dynamic part done. And in theory, this is all you guys want. Your door is done pretty much. Yeah, your door is pretty much done. One more thing we can add is a frame to the door, so it just looks a bit cleaner, which we'll go do now. So in your BP door, add a new static mesh. We can call it frame. And if you install the starter content, you should have a door frame, just like this. In the viewport, we're just going to line this up with the door. So I found that -45 is good, and it just lines up with the door perfectly. Hide and save, and we can see how that looks now. So as you can see, we've now got a nice door frame, which is just perfect. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to add interact. You'll be able to interact with the door and it will bring up a widget. So we're going to make a new folder and we're going to call it widget. Double click that to open it. And we're going to go to user interface, widget blueprint, user widget, and we're going to call this WB underscore interact. I'm going to open this. Okay, so we're going to go to the top right corner, and where it says fill screen, we're just going to put it on custom. We're going to make the width 100 and the height 25. Then we're going to drag in a canvas panel from the library, like this. And you should be seeing this now. So then what we're going to do is we're going to drag in another canvas panel, and we're going to get an image and connect that to this canvas panel here. So on the canvas panel, we're going to resize it to 25 and 25. And we're going to set the image to be centered. And we're going to just set the position of X and Y to 0. And the size to be 25, 25. Then we're also going to set the alignment to 0.5 and 0.5. Then this is mainly for design preferences. I'm going to just set the color to like a grayish sort of color. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add text. I'm going to add that to the canvas panel. And in the text, I'm just going to put E, since that's our interact key. Size to content. Then we're going to anchor it to the center and make all the position values to 0. Just like that. We then want to set the alignment to 0.5 and 0.5. And you can always scale the font size down a little bit just so it fits in. Something like that. That's great. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to add another canvas panel. And we're going to connect it not to this canvas panel, but the first one we made. And we also want to scale this down, so you can just drag it in here. Like this. Which is great. Then in here, all you're going to add is a text box. And that will just say interact. And we're going to make it size to content. We're going to make the font size, I like 15, as it just fits in there perfectly. We're also going to anchor it to the sort of left here, and set the Y position to 0. Then set the alignment to 0.5 by 0.5. And actually, we're going to set this one to 0, like that. Okay, so now we've made the widget. We're actually going to make it work in the door blueprint. So over in the door, what we're going to do is on the viewport, we're going to actually make another box collision. And we're going to call this interact. Mine parented to the frame. Oh, we can't call it interact. We're going to call it interact box instead. Mine's connected to the frame, but if it's parented to anything, just hover over it and you can unparent it like that. Then to position it, you can just do it like how I did the last one. However, this time it's going to go over both sides. Something like this. Try keep it sort of inside this box here for the best sort of effect, pretty much. This is good for me. So yeah. Then we're just going to make it sort of in the middle, like we did the last one, like this. That looks good to go. You could just expand out a little bit, like this. And yeah, that's a good interact box. So basically, whenever the player is inside this box, the widget will show, and they'll be able to interact with the door. So let's go implement that now. Okay, so what we're going to do is going to go to the interact box, right click it, add event, and add begin on component overlapped. And we're also going to right click it again and add event, begin on component end overlap. And we're just going to check if the player is in this box collision like we did over here. So we're just going to get the player character. I'm going to check if it's in the box collision. We're then going to link this up to a branch, just like this. You can hold B and then just click to get a branch if you need to. And for me, I want the widget to appear in the world. So in order to do that, what we can do is we can search in the add for a widget, and we can make this screen and draw a desired size, tick, and where it says widget class here, we're going to put WB interact in. Okay, so then we're going to position the widget to be like sort of in the center of the door, like this, and almost forgot, you want to make the draw size 500 by 100, just like that. Okay, so once we do that, back into the event graph, right at the top, so at the top here, we're going to make a new event called begin play. And now this will just execute every time you start the game. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab the widget, we're going to get widget, like this, and we're just going to cast to WB underscore interact, just like this. And we can right click to promote to variable and just call it WB interact, like that. Compile and save. Then coming down here, we can just drag out from this widget here and we can set visibility out of the true, set the visibility to true. And then we can just copy and paste all this logic over to the end overlap as well, connecting the other actor here. We just uncheck the set visibility, like that. Compile and save. What we're going to do is we're going to create a new variable again called can interact. And we're going to make that a boolean. And we're going to set it over here to be true and over here to be false. Then we're going to make a branch. I'm going to make another variable called isLineTrace. So this is going to make us choose whether it wants to be line trace or a collision sort of based interact system. So go ahead and just get this line trace and connect up to the branch. Once we do that, we're going to get player controller, and we can just set enable, sorry, not set, just enable input like this, and make the player controller instead of the target, like that. Then drag back out of player controller and get disable input, and do the same thing, drag into the player controller slot, just like this. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to just get a new event, which will be the E key. You can find it. Here it is, the E key, and we're going to make a branch. And this branch will have can interact here. So if can interact is true, we're going to get another branch, and we're going to get line trace. And if we're not using a line trace, then we're going to interact. Not that one. Interact, and it will need to be call function interact, like that. And we don't need an instigator for this one. Okay, so now we only have a couple more things to do now. For the basics of the door to be fully done. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the widget, and we're actually going to just go to visibility, and we're going to set it to false. And then also over here where you plug enable input into true, we're actually going to put it into false. Okay, so now in theory this code would work, except it doesn't, as the line trace is triggered as well as this, so the door will open and close at the same time, meaning the door won't do anything. So in order to fix that, we're just going to grab the door, we're going to set collision profile name, and we're going to write in here pawn. We're just going to copy and paste this over here, and then in here we're just going to write block and then all, spelled like that. And then it should work, so you should be able to go to the door and interact with it. No matter if you look in the door or not, so say we're looking this way, you can still interact with it. And if we look this way, you can still interact with it, which is perfect. Another thing you might want to do is just make line trace instance editable right here. So what you're going to do now is when the door's closed, we want the interact text to stay open and vice versa, the other way around. So in order to do that, what we're going to do is go to WB interact, and where it says this text interact, we're going to rename it to interact, and we can just tick is variable like that. Then what we're going to do is we're going to head over back to the BP door, and over back where the timeline is. So we're going to go back to this WB interact, which we created a while ago, and what we're going to do is we're going to then get interact, which is the variable we literally just created inside of the widget. And then we're going to set text and make sure it's this one here. And we're just going to link this up here, just like this. There we go. Something that you might have forgotten to do, what I did. You actually want to link this here, so it connects into that. Alright, that's good. Then we're just going to call this close. And we're just going to duplicate it to the other side. And we're going to put that as open. Plug it back into the reverse. Okay, so now what you should have, when you walk over to the door now, it should say close and open, like this. So you may have seen, the first time you look at the door, it says here E to interact, and then when you interact, it tells you can close it and open the door. We're going to go fix that right now. So in BP door, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new function. We're going to call this function start with door open. Alright, then we're going to create a branch by holding B and clicking, and we're going to link up is door open to that. Then off of the true, we're then just going to call the event open door, and off of the false, we're going to call the event close door. Then we're going to get the WB underscore interact again. We're going to get the interact variable. Then we're going to set the text to close on this one. Control D to duplicate. Then we're going to set it to open on this one. Then what we're going to do is we're going to connect this function up to the begin play. The way we're going to do that is we are going to just simply put it here for now, like that. Perfect. Then when we play, we should have E to open and then E to close. And that is now the basic door done. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a physics to the door. So if you apply the door to have physics, you'll be able to run through it like in GTA. Okay, so in order to do the physics door, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the frame. We're just going to get the collision, and we're going to set it to no collision, as it can interfere with the physics of the door. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add a physics constraint. Don't parent to anything, just put it inside of the default scene root. And we are going to just put it to the middle for now. We're going to set its location to just 0 for now. There we go. Then what we'll do is we will change the component name to be this exact name here. For me it's door. Whatever you've named your door mesh, you're going to put right here. So I'm going to put door here. And it should highlight the door red, like this. After that, we're going to go down to where it says angular limit. We're going to make swing 2 motion to be locked, twist motion to be locked, and we're going to set swing 1 motion to be limited. So what this does is it locks the rotation of the door. So instead of you being able to knock down the door, it just rotates like an ordinary door. So we're going to set the swing limit to, I find a value of 100 works really well. So this sort of door. Then we're going to go down to angular motor, and we're going to change this to twist and swing, and just set up swing like that. Perfect. Once we do that, we can add a new variable, and we can call it physics door. And we're going to make that instance editable. Now from begin play, we're going to add a branch here, and we're just going to put in physics door, because we don't actually want to run any logic if it's not the physics door, because there's no point. Then we're going to create a function called initialize physics door. Now what this will do, this will get the door ready to basically have physics applied to it. Inside of this function, we're going to set simulate physics of the door to be simulate, and then we're going to set mass overriding kg of the door, and we're just going to set that to a variable. We're just going to promote this to a variable, and we'll just call it mass, like that. I'm just going to set this variable to 60. That'll be how heavy the door is. So if you've got a light door, set it to a light door. Heavy door, set it heavier, you know. Then we're going to go to the physics constraint, and we're just going to set angular swing limit, swing one limit. I'm also going to promote this to a variable too. And we'll just call it swing limit. We're going to set this to a value of 100, as I found that's a good value for the swing limit. And then we're going to go into the door, get a reference to the door, set angular dampening to a new variable, and we'll just call it dampening. Not damping. Here we go. So what this does is it enables the physics of the door, then it sets a custom mass to the door of how heavy the door is. So it's how heavy it is to open. It then sets the swing limit, so how far around it can swing. Obviously you don't want to be 360 degrees. And then you set the angular dampening for the closing, so it doesn't like constantly swing back and forth until it stops. It stops quite immediately. So finally, what we're going to do for the physics door is we're going to come off true, and we're just going to initialize physics door, the function we just made. And that should be everything. We can test it now. So what I'm going to do is enable physics door, and it should work. Which it does. Ish. It works to a certain degree. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it so you can't interact with the door, as it just bugs everything out. That's what we're going to do next. And we also get all these errors here. So we're going to solve all this. Okay, so down here, the second box collision where we do the interact, we are going to just come off of here like this, make a branch, and just plug into this branch physics door. If physics door is false, then we can do this, and same here. Control C, Control V, and if it's false, then we can do this. Then finally, we're going to do check on the event interact, which is over here. We're going to do a check which just checks if it's a physics door. So B for a branch is physics door. If it's false, then we'll do this. So the physics door should be working, as in the fact that you won't be able to interact with it anymore. You'll just be able to push it open like this. Now to make it so that the door can close, what we're actually going to do is in the blueprint, go over to where your door is, and we're just going to put the z-axis of the location up by 0.5, and now your door will work. So you'll be able to swing it and it will shut like that. However, as we can see, the door is sort of being a bit weird here, and that's just because you want to set the dampening to 15. Then your door shouldn't do that anymore. It'll just close like that. Now there's your physics door. Okay, so the final thing we're going to do is we're going to make horizontal and vertical doors. These happen to be actually pretty simple, so let's go right into it. So we're going to open the BP door, going to go to the event graph, and we're going to make a new custom event. Just find some space for it. I'm going to put it here at the bottom. Make a new custom event, and we're going to call it we'll call it open slide door. And I'm just going to correct that spelling issue there. Then we're going to make another custom event, and we're going to call this close slide door. So for the logic wise, it's going to be pretty similar to the door we have up here. And in fact, we can just copy here, copy these four here, Control C, and then Control V. And we can just reuse this here, like this. And we could even do the same for the timeline. So what we're going to do is, this might get a little bit confusing, but it shouldn't be too bad. So pretty much what we're going to do is come here to the interact here, and then the timeline as well, and that's all we're going to copy. Come back, and then you should find this will actually work. What we're going to do is replace this reference here with go into components, and we're going to rename this timeline to be door slide open. Find the timeline, and we're just going to then connect it over here at the set play rate. Just like this. So once you've done this, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new variable, and we'll just say is door vertical. Oh, that didn't work. We're going to call it is door vertical question mark. It's going to be a boolean, and we're going to go to our branch. In the update, we're going to check if it's vertical. We're also going to make this instance editable as well. Same with the dampening, swing limit, and mass. Compile and save. So coming out of the false, what we're going to do is we're going to set the relative location of the door, and we're going to split this structure here, just like that. Then from this rotation, we're actually going to lerp linear interpolate it. Then what we're going to do is we're going to create a couple new variables. One which is going to be called horizontal slide close location, and another one called horizontal slide open location. So I'm going to make both of these floats. I'm going to leave the closed location as 0, and I'm going to make the open location to be 100. Compile and save. Then this B will be horizontal slide open. We're going to make this rotation be the alpha, and make the closed location be A, like this. Then, to make it so we can decide if we want the door to go left or right, we're going to make a variable called isRight. This will be a boolean. Oh, isRight. This will be a boolean. Then we're also going to make another variable, and it will be called left and right value. And this one will be a float. We're then going to multiply this by the left or right value. We're going to set the default value to 1, just like that. And we're going to plug this into the location Y, like that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back into the functions, and we're going to create a new function, and we're going to call this initialize horizontal door. We're going to go to branch. We're going to just make this horizontal right, or is right, like that. Then left or right value, We're going to make this -1. Then we're going to make this 1. So what this is doing is it's multiplying the lerp by either 1 or -1, and -1 will make it go the opposite direction. So then at the begin play, we are going to make a sequence, and we're going to plug the start with door open to the 0, and start with door 1, sorry, no, then 1 to initialize horizontal door, like that. Compile and save. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to make another variable, and we're going to call this isHorizontalSlide. We're going to make this a boolean, instance editable, and the same with isWrite, we're going to make that instance editable as well. Once we do that, go over to where event interact is. After we decide if the door is open or not, we are going to make a branch. I then come off this with an OR. And we're going to see is horizontal slide or is door vertical. And we're going to copy and paste this over here and make this come off the false. So on both these, if it's false, we just want an open door on the bottom one. And if it's false, we're going to close door on the top one. However, if it's true, we're going to close slide door. And if it's true on this one as well, we're going to open slide door, just like that. So now if we check, we should be able to make the door, instead of unchecked physics door, we're going to uncheck line trace, and we should be able to make the door is vertical to be yes. We should be able to tick is, so sorry, we haven't set vertical yet, but we should be able to check is horizontal slide to see yes. We should be able to go in the game and it will slide like that. Now the door is actually the wrong way round, funnily enough. So that is the left and then the right, like this. We'll slide right, which is exactly what we want. Alright, perfect. So we have this issue where you can't close the door, and that is just because I was being dumb. So if we go back to here, we should be able to just connect these both back to the open, like this. And then you'll be able to close the door. I was just being kind of dumb, but yeah, it works. Perfect. So now we're going to make the door vertical. So let's do that. It's very simple. It takes 5 more minutes. Let's go. So in the blueprint door, we're going to go down back to where the sliding is. And we're pretty much going to copy and paste this entire code and then put it up here. We're going to change very minor things, and one of them is we're going to change this location to the Z. Simple as that. So technically this is now done, but for better use, we want to rename these variables to be more appropriate names for the vertical door. So pretty much what we're going to do is just create 3 new variables, one of which is going to be vertical slide close location. Make that float. The next one will be vertical slide open location. And finally we'll have up/down value. And sorry, it's 4 variables. We also want the is up boolean, like that. Perfect. Then we're going to make a final function. I'm going to call this initialize vertical door, and we're just going to get the boolean is up branch, connect this to the branch, and then up or down value. We're going to make this 1 here, and we're going to make it negative. We're going to make it -1 on the false. So we're also going to default the up or down value to 1, just like that. Something that I've forgotten to do though, we need to change these variables completely. So plug the rotation into alpha, plug this vertical slide close location into A, and the vertical slide open location into B. Then up or down value into the multiplication. So now what you want to do is you want to make isUp instance editable, and you're going to go all the way to the top for the begin play, and you're going to connect the function initialize vertical door to the begin play. Now when you play, you're able to decide if it's vertical and if it goes up. We'll check both of them for the first test, and it goes up and it goes down. And if you uncheck isUp, your door will go down and it go back up. So yeah, that's everything. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe, leave a comment what my next tutorial should be, and yeah, thank you. Adios.